Welcome into Q&A with Ari Blue here on Facebook Live on the Sports Fan Base Network page. Thank you again for joining us here on this Tuesday night. So much basketball has just gone on over the last week or so, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in here on Facebook Live. And we had a good amount of viewers and a good amount of questions last week, and I wanted to get to one that we didn't get a chance to get to. This was on Facebook from Zach G, and his question was, who will have the breakout year next year, a breakout year next year? And I'm assuming, Zach, that you're talking about basketball. So first off, thank you for the question last week, and we're sorry we didn't get to it. I've been so busy. I wanted to think about the question, but I've been so busy with broadcasts and with our broadcast that we do at Westchester, and I'm just spent from calling the Catholic League game last night on 12:10 a.m. But, just thinking about it now, considering what I saw last night with Archbishop Wood, they lose a lot of really good seniors, but they get back Tyree Pickron, and they get back Seth Pinckney and Carrington Wallace. So when I say they're kind of breakout players, Gillespie's getting all the attention for Archbishop Wood, so I would say Pickron's really going to be obviously the main guy next year, and Carrington Wallace, a big guy as well, and him and Pinckney down low are just going to be dominant in the post, especially with Newman Goretti losing Demir Cosby-Roundtree. Another player off the top of my head that I can think of is Plymouth White Marsh's Naeem McLeod. Okay, so Naeem McLeod is a 7-foot sophomore on Plymouth White Marsh. 7-foot sophomore, that's right. If you don't know who he is, find out, because this kid is going to be recruited by D1. He's a little bit raw. He doesn't quite have the skills of a guy like Demir Cosby-Roundtree, but he's a very good player. So there's just a few for you. I'm sure there's a ton of other underclassmen that we can really look at. So again, Zach G, thank you very much for the question. So that was from last week. So we do have a couple submissions for this week. We're going to start with Brandon. And we were talking about the Catholic League Championship, so this is a perfect transition right here. Who were the standouts in the PCL Championship games on Monday night? First off, phenomenal games. Nothing beats the PCL Championships at the Palestra. It's the best high school event in the entire country, in my opinion. I'll start with the girls. Cardinal O'Hara won their first PCL title since 2012. Their point guard, Hannah Nyhill, was so good. She controlled the offense. She knocked down some threes, hit some big free throws. She's going to Drexel, and she will stay local for her college career. She was the standout player, in my opinion. And also Mary Sheehan, defensively, had like some huge blocks. She's going to St. Joe's. And Maura Hendrickson, a junior, also committed to Drexel verbally. She had some big three-pointers. So those were my standouts for Cardinal O'Hara in their win. On the boys' side, for Archbishop Wood, obviously Colin Gillespie had the big game. But to me, who stood out was Matt Cerruti. And he is a role player on this Archbishop Wood team. He doesn't have the big name. He doesn't have the big numbers. But he hit some big three-pointers in that third quarter to allow Archbishop Wood to come back and ultimately win that game against Newman Goretti. Remember, Wood was down 31-18 at the half, and they came back to win the ball game, and that third quarter was a big reason why, and so was Matt Cerruti. So thank you very much, Brandon, for that question, and I'm just spent. Those games were so great. This week on Thursday night, we will be airing Varsity Voice on the Comcast Network, our usual times, 6 and 11 p.m. on the Comcast Network and 11:30 on CSN Philly. We'll have a couple of replays on Friday as well. We are going to talk about, some really good games coming up. We'll recap what's going on in District 1 as well. And we also talk about on Varsity Voice the city title games in District 12. And that actually leads me into question number 3 from Joey G. Are there going to be any upsets in the city title games this weekend? Joey, thank you very much for the question. I appreciate it. I don't think there's going to be any upsets. We talk about that on the show on Varsity Voice a little bit, so make sure you tune in for the expert analysis of Aaron Ace Carter from the Philadelphia Inquirer, and also Mike Samsel, my co-host. But, in 6A, Roman versus Lincoln, Roman probably wins that game. 4A, Imhotep versus Kamwaugan, Imhotep out of the public league probably wins that game. 3A, Newman Goretti against Del Val. Well, how devastated is Newman Goretti going to be after this loss? They lost to Del Val last year in the city title. Maybe Del Val pulls off an upset, but my money would say no. The 5A game is intriguing. You have Archbishop Wood that just won the PCL title going up against Martin Luther King, who just lost the public league title. So King is going to be devastated, maybe. Not too much, but they're going to move on. They've got a great coach. Archbishop Wood, are they going to overlook this game, especially given the winning the school's first ever boys basketball PCL title? Maybe. And King has a really good defense. They'll wear out all those good Archbishop Wood players that we just talked about. So if I had to guess and put my money on that there's going to be one upset, and which one I would say it would be Martin Luther King. Very well coached team, super good at being defensive, slowing down Archbishop Wood. I think that's definitely what could possibly happen. So thank you again, Joey, for that submission. We have one final question here. And again, you're watching Q&A with Ari Blue here on Facebook Live. Thank you again for joining us and everybody for tuning in and all your questions. This one comes from Brian B. Which of the top players in the city will have the best college career? That's a very good question. You can look at, obviously, the most highly recruited players in the city. Quade Green going to Kentucky. Demir Crosby-Roundtree, Colin Gillespie going to Villanova. To me, Quade Green going to Kentucky, we'll see what happens with that. I mean, obviously, he is the best player in the city. How good is he going to do at Kentucky? I'm not sure. I mean, he is a very good player. Is he like a first-round lottery draft pick? I don't know. So I look at some of the other players in the city, and we just talked about Imhotep a little bit. They've got two very good players in their backcourt. Deron Russell going to Rhode Island and Dave Beatty going to South Carolina. They're going to programs where they are going to be the focal point. So when you're talking about best college career, let's talk about, let's say, points scored total. I think Deron Russell out of Imhotep Charter could, out of this group of seniors in the city, could end up scoring the most points at the collegiate level because he's so quick and he's so dynamic, and he's going to be on a Rhode Island team where they're going to say, hey, take the ball and do what you do with it. And he'll get a lot of time as a freshman. Quade Green, I don't know how much time he gets on Kentucky as a freshman. Demir Crosby-Roundtree, not necessarily a 8-point scorer, but he could definitely be an impact player. Gillespie, not sure how much time he'll get at Villanova to start. So I would give that one to Deron Russell. So thank you, Brian B., for that question. That just about wraps up Q&A with Ari Blue, but I want to remind everybody again, tune in to Varsity Voice on Thursday night, 6 o'clock and 11 o'clock on TCN, 11:30 on CSN. We've also got a couple of replays on Friday. Check your local listings. Also, make sure you go to our website, thesfbn.com. You can watch all of our past Varsity Voice episodes. You can watch all of our past SFBN online broadcasts that we've done during the year. You can get the link to Westchester basketball if you want to watch some college basketball. And, of course, all of our fresh new content. We've got a ton of reporters, great photographers. We're producing fresh content every day with all the great basketball going on in this area. District 1, District 12, championship games, play-in games, Final Four coming up tonight at Temple. We'll be reporting on that. The games at Villanova this weekend for the District 1 championships, we'll be reporting on that. We have a lot of great stuff on the website. Check it out, thesfbn.com. Thank you for tuning in here to Q&A with Ari Blue. And again, thank you to everybody who submitted questions. And if you submitted questions that we couldn't get to it, don't worry. We'll get to it next week. I'll be back on Tuesday night at 6 p.m. right here on Facebook Live. Thank you again for tuning in to Q&A with Ari Blue. And everyone, have a good night.